Good afternoon and welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting of the State Bar. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Michelle, could we have a roll call, please?
Barahona, Good, and Huser are absent. Buenaventura,
Present.
Cisneros,
Present.
Gore. Is Gore present?
Present, sorry.
Okay. Grande,
Present.
Harrison,
Present.
Giorgello,
Present.
Sowell, not present. Stevens, Trustee Stevens, not present. Tony,
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the call for public comment. Before we begin public comment, I'd like to remind everyone of some of the ground rules for speaking during this meeting. Under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, public comments must pertain to items that are on the agenda or related to matters that are within the jurisdiction of this agency. Specifically, the State Bar's governing body. The board is the State Bar's governing body and is responsible for exercising oversight of the State Bar. Under the State Bar's policy regarding public comment, members of the public cannot cede their time to another speaker. Any attempts to deceive the board by disguising your voice, using different aliases, or names to participate in public comment are not allowed, as well as impermissible under the State Bar's policy against disruptive and/or disorderly conduct that may result in removal from the meeting. We appreciate your cooperation in maintaining a respectful and orderly environment for all attendees. Under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, and now State Bar will attempt to call members of the public in the order they appear in the attendee pool. For those participating by Zoom, you should have a function for virtually raising your hand. It is a hand icon and should appear at the bottom center of your screen. If you would wish to address the board, please click on the hand icon now and State Bar staff will call on you in the order the hands are raised. For those participating by phone, you may virtually raise your hand by pressing *9. That is the star key and the number 9. Doing so will alert staff that you would like to make a comment, and State Bar staff will call on you and open your microphone so that you can address the board. For those who are participating from a notice location, please alert the State Bar staff member present in the room you would like to make a public comment. Each speaker is allotted 2 minutes. Please note the staff will have an on-screen countdown timer visible to all attendees during the duration of your public comment. The timer's 2-minute countdown will begin as soon as you start your comment. The on-screen timer will flash throughout the final 10 seconds. Michelle, do we have any public commenters?
We do have one advanced sign up. That would be Nadine Mazard. And we have 3 raised hands, and then we need to confirm with remote trustees if there are any in-person public commenters at your location. So we'll start with Buenaventura.
No one is present here.
Thank you. Cisneros.
No one here.
Gore.
No one here?
Grande.
No one here.
Harrison.
There is no one here.
Giorgello.
No one here.
Do we have Sowell?
I'm here and there is no one, I'm present and there is no one here to make public comment.
Thank you. Is Stevens present?
Present.
Are there any in-person public commenters at your location?
Negative.
Thank you. Tony?
No public commenters.
Thank you. That concludes all of the remote trustees. So there are no in-person public commenters at any of our locations. That takes us to our first advance sign up, and that would be Nadine Mazard. Nadine, your mic has been enabled.
Hello, my name is Nadine Mazard. I am an attorney admitted into 4 of the jurisdictions, one that's even harder than California, which is New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Hawaii. And I'm calling because on behalf of attorneys who are seasoned and out of that have not taken a bar for quite some time. And in 2028, there's going to be some changes. And I do think this is the time to kind of figure out what is a different way and to revisit the idea of reciprocity for attorneys. And I do think I'm in agreement with Donna, what she said at the last meeting, which is that we should be doing familiarity with California law, because that is basically what an individual should do. It should not be an exam about rote memorization, going back to learning black letter law, because at this point, we should be able to take our license and be able to take it to whichever other jurisdictions we would like to have access to. I do know that you have to work with the statute to work with this, and the Blue Ribbon Commission had talked about making these changes. And so if you, there was an attempt to try to do this done during the time with the February 2025. I know it got lost, but it is, I do think that it is something should be taken into consideration, and that attorneys should not, and especially attorneys like me that maybe have been out for it's been 29 years since I've done anything black letter law. To have to take a next gen exam should not be something. And again, too, that is a violation of our privileges and immunities clause, where we should be able to go wherever to take our bar and be able to work with that. So just would be open to kind of other ideas for individuals with regards to attorneys and what we can do for seasoned attorneys to be able to make a difference.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ray Hayden. Ray, your mic has been enabled.
Thank you very much. I have a solution to your problem. I have for about 10 years that I've been publicly saying it. However, last week in Washington State, 700 people could not take the next gen exam because of complete technical failure. This is after they waited 6 hours in the convention center. Class action lawsuits have already been announced as forthcoming. In Missouri, applicants were forced to wait 6 hours before beginning the next gen exam, with many falling ill in the process. Let's be clear. These disasters are far worse than what happened in California in February 2025. And as I've been preaching for a long time since then, is you were very, very close to nailing pure success in that exam, no matter how much you beat yourself up over, because I had insight and behind the scenes information. But far worse, if Next Gen could not be ensured to roll out smoothly in a small, much watched debut, July 2028 will end up in a complete meltdown. You owe the public to delay July 2028's debut of the Next Gen bar exam here in California and reassess all options. Anything less would be negligence on part of the state bar. Again, for 10 years, and it's publicly, and you can find it using Gemini and Google search, I've been advocating for the solution for better than 10 years now. And you contacted me initially, asked my advice. I gave it to you. Nobody followed it the way I gave it. But I still have the solution, and I'm still ready to give it to you. And by the way, Ryan Harrison just popped in there on the screen. Hi, Ryan. Ryan had pure platinum in his announcement about having the exam more than twice a year. He's an incredibly intelligent man, and that statement just locked in with me really tightly. By the way, just off the wall thing, this Mr. Stevens down there, your little screenshot looks absolutely fantastic. I thought you were a sports course. I thought it was just a still shot of a sports correspondent. Anyways, that's it for me. Contact me. You have my contact information, and have a great meeting.
Thank you. Next up, we have Kai Own. Mr. Own, your mic is enabled.
Good afternoon. My name is Kai Own from Sacramento. Political power is controlling State Bar of California, Chief Justice and Attorney General not to investigate Sacramento DA office and SPD make up a story that fake killer Mr. Junso Fong hit and run kill my father Woon Kong on. DA case number 99F08735. It is a serious integrity issue. To consider social responsibility, State Bar Board of Trustees and other committee members should report this incident to all California senator, assembly member, and all California citizens to keep an integrity government and integrity justice system. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the raised hands. We have no more public commenters.
Thank you, Michelle. With that, we'll move on to the first item in our open session, and that is item 1.1, approval of May 14th and 15th, 2026 Board of Trustees open session minutes. Do we have any comments or perhaps a motion in a second?
Move to approve.
This is Onit, I'll second.
I think that was motion by Trustee Buenaventura, second by Trustee Sowell. Vote, please.
Buenaventura,
Aye.
Gore,
Aye.
Grande,
Aye.
Harrison,
Aye.
Jargello,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Stevens. Stevens, are you present? Stevens not present. Tony?
Aye.
Cisneros? Cisneros? Did we lose him? Cisneros absent. That is 7 ayes and 0 nays. The motion passes.
Michelle, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes. What is your
Thank
vote?
you. My vote is aye.
Thank you. So our revised is 8 ayes and 0 nays. The motion is passed.
Thank you very much. Next is the approval of the July 16th, 2026 Board of Trustees open session minutes. We can display the motion and need a motion in a second.
I move the July minutes. This is Deborah San Francisco.
This is Onit, I'll second again.
Thank you, trustees. Motion by Trustee Gore, second by Trustee Sowell. Vote, please.
Buenaventura,
Aye.
Gore,
Staying, I did not attend.
Grande,
Aye.
Harrison,
Abstain.
Jargello. Jargello, are you present?
Aye.
Sowell,
Aye.
Stevens? Trustee Stevens? Stevens not present. Tony?
Aye.
Cisneros? Cisneros?
Michelle, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6 ayes and 2 abstentions, 0 nays. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is the approval of annual appointments of officers and members of State Bar entities. This item is being presented by Erica Doherty.
Sorry about that. My cursor got stuck. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of our appointments lead, I am presenting the annual appointments of members and officers to State Bar sub-entities. As you probably recall, each year the State Bar recruits volunteers, including attorneys, non-attorney public members, and current and former judicial officers to serve on our many sub-entities. Throughout this recruitment process, the appointments team, sub-entity committee coordinators, sub-entity leadership, and our appointments liaisons prioritize several different things in determining the candidates that are presented to you today. That includes leadership continuity, relevant professional experience, commitment to public service, demographic diversity, and other factors to assist in the State Bar's work and public protection mission. To support these goals, the State Bar conducted a 3-tiered outreach effort that's outlined in Attachment J of the materials, which included targeted engagement within each sub-entity's networks, broad outreach through our communications office, including through State Bar channels such as social media, websites, our website, and to many of our email subscribers that are on our listservs, and then also amplified promotion through partnership organizations and legal aid networks. Through these efforts, we received 93 applicants for 42 vacancies, as well as 14 letters of interest for the leadership roles with those sub-entities, From this applicant pool, sub-entity leadership and staff identified the highly qualified individuals before you today, who, if appointed, will effectively support and advance the work of the State Bar. Board of Trustees appointment liaisons, Patricia Barahona and David Jargello, have reviewed and support the recommendations that are presented to you today. As a little bit of background here, this item was previously presented to the Executive Committee at the Board of Trustees meeting in July, but due to technical issues with posting, we were unable to present them to the full Board of Trustees. At that Executive Committee meeting, they approved the recommendations for submission to the board, but a few of the Executive Committee members raised questions regarding certain sub-entity compositions. We have attempted to address those questions through new Attachment K that was part of the materials presented today that shows each sub-entity's current attorney, non-attorney composition. For those who are attorneys, it also shows the number of years licensed and the self-reported practice areas. It also shows the applicant's county of residence, gender, race, and ethnicity. Additionally, when the Executive Committee approved the recommendations at the July meeting, the resolution referenced the attachments for the list of nominees. In those attachments, unfortunately, there was an inadvertent staff error that included an additional nominee to CBE, Mr. Dixon. However, the staff report at that meeting did reflect the correct nominations. But to ensure clarity in the board's approved appointments, you'll see a revised proposed motion on the screen for you in a few moments here. And because the Executive Committee is only a recommending body for sub-entity appointments, there's no reason for them to have to clarify that motion, but it's before you for the full board to make sure that we are as precise as possible in the recommendations for our sub-entities who will start serving following our September annual meeting. So happy to answer any questions you might have regarding the appointments or anything else I discussed, and thank you.
Very much, Erica. Michelle, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Are there any questions for Erica or otherwise a motion and second?
I have a issue I'd like
Tony.
to bring up. Thank you. And that is that the issue I brought up in the Executive Committee meeting had to do with the Committee of Bar Examiners recommendation for a new member. And that had to do, if you look at the Attachment K on page 6, it answers a question which I had asked, which is the gender breakdown, the gender composition of CBE is currently 12 men and 4 women. So it is 75% male, 25% female. And I had noted that all of the recommendations for the one open seat also appeared to be male. And I brought up as a question of our responsibility to work for inclusion. And I believe these are forwarded to the Supreme Court. Is that correct or not?
Yes, that's correct. So the recommendations, in this case, there's 3 presented for you today. Those are forwarded to the Supreme Court to ultimately
Right.
select from.
I believe it's important for us to give the Supreme Court a choice of men and women candidates, particularly for CBE, where we have an imbalance. They can make the final choice, but if we send it to them now, we're not giving them a choice at all. Okay, and I think that's a mistake. What I want to do is to have 2 separate votes. I'm going to recommend a vote, and I will make this in a motion, but I just want to explain myself first in case anybody else had questions or further discussion before we get into the motion part. But my intent is to make a motion to support all of the recommendations, save the Committee of Bar Examiners, and then I will be making a motion asking that that be reopened, and that there be recruitment, kind of some targeted recruitment to increase the number of women attorney applicants. I believe we have very close to 50% of registered licensed attorneys in California are women. So I just don't see that would be extremely difficult to find qualified women attorneys who are potential candidates to add to the list we have. I wouldn't remove anybody that's currently on the 3, but this is more of a inclusion, additive is what I'm recommending. So, I thought it would be better to let people know what I'm interested in, what my intent is, and to then open it up to comment, conversations, questions, whatever you want.
Thank you very much, Mark. So I think that you've just described the new motion as you have proposed. And I would ask if anybody has any questions, or we will need a second on that motion, which I think we would act on first before anything else. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, Trustee Harrison.
Yes, I have 2 questions. I don't disagree with that idea. I do think that government committees, wherever they are, should reflect the demographics of the people. But my question is, when do we make appointments to the CBE in the future? I mean, if it's sometime in proximity to today, I have less of a concern of a more enhanced effort to recruit female members. If not, then I think that Trustee Tony's point is more salient. And the second question has to do with how long will it take to finalize, or is it possible for us to appoint the current people that are proposed? Let me rephrase. Are there any openings beyond what the proposed appointments can fill? Like, are there extra openings that can have appointments as well? So those 2 questions.
Erica, can you help with that?
Yeah, so let me talk more holistically, and then I'll let Donna jump in and address CBE itself. So as far as the appointments process, we generally leave the application open for at least 60 days. Sometimes that has shrunk for a host of reasons, but we like to leave it open for about that long. This year it was open even a little bit longer than that to try and get a host of different candidates. So I would recommend that if this does move forward, we kind of do that and reopen the CBE application for about 60 days or so. So what that would effectively do is basically move the CBE appointments item to the November board meeting to be considered and then be recommended to the Supreme Court. I will leave it to Donna to explain what that might mean as it relates to CBE, because I know that CBE has quite a workload cut out for them over the next several months. And I'll let you take it from here, Donna.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Just also a tiny bit of background. Just and this obviously does not go to Trustee Tony's point of who applied and who did we reach out to apply in the first place. But the process that we engage with when we have applications to CBE, staff review all of the applications that come in. We share those applications with the leadership of the Committee of Bar Examiners. We recommend a slate of those applicants to interview, but again, share all of the applications with the chair in case they want to disagree, want to add or take away different individuals to interview. This year, there are three current incumbents whose position is up, who are eligible for and interested in renewing their term. That's a decision that gets made by the Supreme Court, and so that's why those individuals are not presented to you, and their slots are not presented to you as possible slots to fill. So those individuals currently appear on your list as current members of the committee, and would, if reappointed by the Supreme Court, continue in their slots. So that wouldn't change the gender composition at all. I would note that in all likelihood, the position that we are going to be filling will be the position for the new attorney. So CBE has a slot that's dedicated to somebody who has been who was admitted within the past 3 years, and the only applicants that we did have from the prior pool for that slot, you see both of those on your list of recommendations. So those were the only applicants we had in fact received for that new attorney, who qualified for that new attorney slot. And then also just a reminder, the Supreme Court has 10 of the 19 appointments to the Committee of Bar Examiners. The Senate has 3, the Assembly has 3, and the Governor has 3. And so there are additional vacancies on CBE, other than the ones that you're being asked to come up with the recommendation for today, that would be filled by those other appointing authorities.
Erica and Donna, are there any other questions or discussion?
So,
If not, we'll need a second to just go ahead.
So what I gathered is that other than the candidates that we're voting on now, there are no additional open slots for appointment by the Supreme Court that we can consider today or in the near future, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or a second?
To be clear, are we taking the motion on Trustee Tony's?
On Trustee Tony's motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
A motion by,
For clarity's
what's that?
For clarity's sake, that's the motion to approve all of the appointee recommendations with the exception of CBE. Is that correct? Is that your understanding, Chair Cisneros?
My understanding. Can you capture that, Michelle? I don't need.
Motion to approve all of the appointee recommendations with the exception of CBE.
Do we need to change the resolution?
Change the resolution or remove CBE.
Yeah, so I can help. What that would basically look like is just a strike through of that, basically what everyone is seeing on their screen. And then to Trustee Tony's motion, what we could do is either add something to the resolution that orders the staff to do a new recruitment, or staff has obviously heard you and can do that new recruitment without the resolution, depending upon your preference.
Are we able to edit the motion live, or should we go with the description?
We can edit the motion or the resolution live.
Eric, can you help Michelle do that? Erica, can you help Michelle do that?
Yeah, I don't have access to that, Michelle, but if you want to if that's in track changes, you could just delete from where it says Committee of Bar Examiners through that paragraph. And so just delete the whole thing from Committee of Bar Examiners.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. At the very top, the heading, right above resolved.
Oh, this part.
Correct. That all the way down, because that's just one resolution. It's one motion, excuse me, for one resolution, goodness, for CBE. And then there are many resolutions, as you can see in the item, for each of the different sub-entities. So you would delete from the resolved all the way through that paragraph.
We're just removing the entire reference to CBE, and then the remaining resolutions stay.
Correct.
The other committee sub-entities.
Okay, I'm sorry, from where?
That entire paragraph.
That the following recommendation of the Board Executive Committee and correcting the
Starting
entire thing.
from resolved all the way through that end of where it says earlier, that whole thing.
They're just deleting this whole block.
And then the resolved as well, because there's a resolved once you see it on your screen for the next one is California Board of Legal Specialization.
Okay.
And so on. But I want to make sure that addresses Trustee Tony's concerns, or if you would like us to add something about doing the new recruitment.
No, I think that this will be sufficient. Thank you.
So can you raise up the rest of the text, or at least page down so we can see it?
No, we need to go to the original item to see.
With the track changes?
There should be a resolution per committee.
My apologies. I only had the one resolution.
I can
stop share. Erica, you can display.
Sure. Give me one moment. So this is just from the attachment that is posted. And it'll be showing on your screen now. Let me move the toolbar out. And so this shows, as you'll see, it shows every other sub-entity. So this includes California Board of Legal Specialization, COAF, COPRAC, Client Security Fund Commission, LAP Oversight Committee, Legal Services Trust Fund, and so on and so forth, essentially all the way, well, there's only two more. So Jenny and Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to the top of that, all those
Sure.
lists, we will see that it is a resolution, correct? Resolve for the resolve.
Correct.
COPRAC. Right. Further up.
So further up, because I'm looking at the posted version, this includes CBE, but that has been
I see, but that's the
stricken.
part that would come out.
Correct.
Okay. All right, is everybody clear? Any other questions? We have a motion from Trustee Tony. I think I got a second from Trustee Buenaventura. Is that right, Ray? Great, thank you. Time for a vote. Vote please, Michelle.
Trustees Barahona, Good, and Huser are absent. Trustee Buenaventura.
Aye.
Trustee Gore.
Aye.
Grande.
Aye.
Harrison.
Aye.
Jargello.
Aye.
Sowell.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Cisneros.
Aye.
Okay, I hear you now. With 9 ayes and 0 nays, the motion passes.
Thank you very much,
you.
Michelle.
Go
ahead,
Just
Trustee
if I could just make one last comment. I appreciate everybody's consideration here. I appreciate the work of the committee trustees, Giorgello and Berahona, and just appreciate your willingness to go back on the Committee of Bar Examiners. I just want to give just call out one of the public comments that we all received from Alex Kalegian, just pointing out that it doesn't appear that there are any ethnic Armenians serving on any of the bar committees. And I thought that, that was, just a letter that serves as a good reminder that we always be very expansive as we think about what diversity and inclusion means. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and appreciate the letter being sent to us ahead of time as part of public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Tony. Trustee Grande, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, just a brief suggestion for next year. I really appreciate all the work that went into just painting a picture and letting us know of what the different committees, the makeup of the different committees. I think it would be a useful information if we could include as a part of the application the firm size of the people that are applying. I think that also would really support making sure that we have an inclusive set of voices that make up our committees. So just for next year.
Very much, Trustee Grande. Trustee Sowell.
Just very quickly, Erica or others, could folks just remind us of the frequency by which we review the work of sub entities as well as their, I guess I'll just say their standing, because there is a board a process that we go through. I can't remember if it's annually or not to look at sub entities.
So there's the work of the subcommittees. Those are the work plans that you all approved earlier this year. They're slated to come back in November to show their progress. So that's kind of the oversight piece of their work plans. As far as should the committee continue, I'm assuming is what you mean as far as standing.
Yes.
That's an every 5-year review.
Every 5 years. Okay. Thank you, Laura.
Very much, Trustee. I think, Vice Chair Tony, you referenced having a second motion, but I'm not sure that's necessary. Is
No,
that
not
correct?
at this point. I agree.
Staff is clear on where they want to go next. And okay. Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to item 2.2, approval contract with Onit Inc. for phase 1 contract regarding the State Bar Matter Management System implementation pursuant to Business and Professions Code section 6008.6. And we'll be hearing from Ellen Peterson.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Trustees. I am Helen Peterson, lead of the Office of Operational and Digital Transformation. Today, I'm presenting the staff report requesting approval of the Phase 1 Statement of Work for implementing a new matter management system. While this request is specific to the MFA Phase 1 SOW, we also want to outline for the board the broader strategy for a phased matter management implementation across the State Bar. In September 2024, a consulting firm specializing in legal technology modernization conducted an operational efficiency evaluation of the State Bar. The consultant's assessment found that our matter management environment is fragmented across aging systems, and some offices do not have a matter management system at all. In response to these findings, an RFP was released in December 2025 for a new matter management system. We designed the RFP as a multi-phase implementation that would ultimately encompass 7 offices: MFA, CSF, LAP, OGC, OCTC, crew, and potentially probation. 6 vendors submitted proposals, and Onit Inc. was identified as the highest scoring bidder. Its modern cloud-based platform provides configurable workflows and integration support. Phase 1 centers on the MFA program. The total cost of Phase 1 is $677,635. Once the platform is fully deployed for all 7 offices, staff estimates annual subscription costs will total $320,000 annually, with vendor proposed implementation costs of approximately $1,650,000 across all phases, encompassing 7 offices and approximately 400 users. For comparison, just OCTC's use of their current matter management system costs approximately $225,000 annually, with costs anticipated to rise over time, and that initial 2016 implementation cost was $2.7 million. Our phased and risk-averse approach allows the State Bar to confirm system scalability and operational fit by beginning with a smaller office before expanding to larger and more complex units. Each additional phase will return to the board separately for approval. Staff recommends approval of the Phase 1 Statement of Work with Onit Inc. for the MFA program. You will notice the resolution that we will put on the screen is slightly altered to include the contract amount. That's just for clarity. And I am here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Helen. Are there any questions for Helen? Or a motion in a second?
I have a question. Can you tell us, Helen, if this is an application of AI or if it's something that's different? I don't really pretend to understand what this program does, but I will take it at face value that I will defer to the staff's judgment that it will make the work more efficient. But just because there's lots of questions about AI, I'd like you to help me understand that a little bit.
Yeah. So this system really, one, I will start off with, it is not an AI system. Currently, we do not have any AI features. This is really replacing our foundational database workflow tool, the way we will manage, matters going forward, which is the matter management system. So currently, no AI features. However, they do have some. So I think as we get to know this product more and understand where they're headed with it, we may consider those and bring those through our generative AI's governance plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tony. Any other questions, or do we have a motion?
I have a comment, Chair.
Go ahead, Trustee Harrison.
So I'm just curious. Like I want to see how this is better than the Odyssey platform. Now I don't doubt, the workup and the recommendations, but I'm a curious person, and maybe I'll see it later. I will support this today, but thanks.
Can I just say, Trustee Harrison, we would be happy to show you that and once we're there. So I'll just add that there are, as you saw probably in the item, there are many offices within the State Bar that don't have any sort of workflow case management systems or of any kind. They're doing it, I would say by paper, but it's electronic paper. So it's manual saving and creation of files and all of those sorts of things. So we are starting with some of those offices before we tackle the bigger project, the huge project that will be moving OCTC and all of their electronic paper into a new system. So we're starting with this first, just to move kind of more cautiously with a brand new vendor with such a huge undertaking.
All right, thank you.
Again, any other questions, comments, or do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Motion by Trustee Harrison, second by Vice Chair Tony. Vote, please.
Bear, Honagood, and Huser are absent. Buenaventura,
Aye.
Gore, Grande,
Aye.
Harrison,
Aye.
Giorgello,
Aye.
Sewell.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Stevens,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Cisneros.
Aye.
With 9 ayes and 0 nays, the motion passes.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you very much, Helen. And with that, the board will move to closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, subdivision E2BI. The board will reconvene in open session to announce any reportable action from closed session. And Michelle or anyone, I don't know that we have an estimate on how long. Are we thinking a half hour?
30 minutes.
30 minutes is a good guess at when we might be back in open session for reporting any reportable items. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you in the closed session.
Okay, we are now recording.
Hello, welcome back to the meeting of the California State Bar Board of Trustees. We have completed our closed session, and I'm here to report that during the closed session, the board approved the submission of a letter to the Supreme Court that provides an update on the privileged independent internal investigation into the issues relating to the February 2025 bar exam that the board initially directed in March 2025. The letter will explain that the board paused the investigation in deference to and during the pendency of the audit by the California State Auditor's Office, which was charged with auditing the administration of the February 2025 bar exam. After the board's careful consideration of the state auditor's audit report, the board has determined that there are no issues that warrant further investigation by an independent investigator. The letter will further provide an explanation of the various considerations that factored into the board's decision. I will be working with staff to finalize this letter, and once submitted to the court, it will be available on the State Bar's website. And with that concludes the meeting of the California State Bar today. We will be adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.